The morning began quietly across the planet. The skies over the great cities glowed with the soft light of dawn. People were waking up, checking messages, going to work, having breakfast, or simply staring at the rising sun. Nothing seemed unusual. For most of them, it was just another day, but far beyond the blue sky, hidden beyond the orbit of the moon, something massive was moving toward Earth. At first, it was only a faint signal picked up by deep space observatories. A few scientists noticed a strange pattern, objects entering the solar system at incredible speed. They thought it might be an asteroid cluster or a comet storm, but the readings were too organized, too perfect. Within minutes, telescopes across the world began locking onto the unknown objects. What they saw made every scientist freeze. It wasn't a comet. It wasn't debris. It was a fleet, an entire armada of ships larger than cities. Thousands of them, dark and silent, moving in perfect formation. They came from deep space, their engines glowing like dying stars. Governments were alerted immediately. The space agencies confirmed what no one wanted to believe. The objects were not natural. They were alien. Humanity's worst fear had just arrived. In every capital across the world, leaders gathered in emergency meetings. News channels went live, showing footage of massive dark spots slowly approaching Earth. Military forces went on high alert. Fighter jets were scrambled, defense systems powered up, and cities prepared for possible evacuation. Still, no one really understood what was happening. Then came the broadcast. A strange signal filled every radio, every TV, every communication line across the planet. It was not a human voice. It sounded layered, echoing, mechanical. The translation system struggled, but the message became clear. Planet 3 of the Sol system. You are now property of the Imperial Dominion. You will surrender all defenses. Resistance will not be tolerated. The message repeated 3 times and then vanished. Silence followed. For a few seconds, the world held its breath. Then panic began. People flooded the streets looking at the sky. Some prayed, others cried, and many refused to believe it. News anchors tried to stay calm while explaining that unidentified ships were entering orbit. Governments tried to assure the public that everything was under control, but deep down, everyone knew it wasn't. In orbit, the Imperial fleet began positioning itself around Earth. Their ships were unlike anything humanity had ever seen. Massive triangular vessels glowing with energy fields and each capable of destroying an entire continent. To them, Earth was just another planet, another easy conquest. Inside the command ship, the Imperial Admiral observed the blue world through the viewing screen. He had conquered dozens of systems before. To him, humanity looked weak and primitive. His intelligence report said humans were divided, emotional, and technologically backward. They had only begun exploring nearby planets. They still used fuel-based engines and simple weapons. The Admiral smiled, a cold, confident smile. He gave the order to begin the soft conquest. The first phase was intimidation. Across the sky, bright flashes appeared as massive ships entered low orbit. Cities on every continent could see them, gigantic shapes hanging in the sky blocking the sunlight. People pointed, screamed, recorded videos, and sent messages across social media. The world watched as the impossible became real. Every government received a second transmission, a demand for surrender. It stated that if Earth's leaders did not submit within 1 hour, the Imperial fleet would open fire. The global network fell into chaos. In war rooms deep underground, generals argued over what to do. Some wanted to fight, others wanted to negotiate, but a quiet group of people in a hidden base already knew what was coming. They had been waiting for this day for a long time. For decades, a secret global project had existed. It was not controlled by one nation, but by all of them together, a response to the first strange signals detected years ago. They called it the United Earth Defense Network. Most people thought it was just a rumor, a conspiracy theory, but it was real. Hidden beneath oceans, buried under mountains, and stationed in the shadows of the moon were powerful defense systems, advanced ships, and technology created through years of silent cooperation. While the world panicked, the defense network came alive. Beneath the Pacific Ocean, giant platforms began to rise. In the deserts, hidden silos opened, revealing missile towers that glowed with blue energy. In orbit, small human-built ships uncloaked, surrounding the planet like silent guardians. The activation code echoed through secure channels. Project Horizon is active. Across the world, soldiers, engineers, and scientists took their positions. They knew what was coming. They had trained for this moment, even if they never thought it would truly arrive. Meanwhile, the Imperial fleet grew impatient. The hour was almost over. The Admiral ordered his communications officer to send the final warning. But before he could speak, something unexpected happened. The human defense systems began to power up. From orbit, the aliens detected massive energy spikes across the planet. Thousands of them. The Admiral frowned. His sensors showed multiple targets locking onto his fleet. That was impossible. According to their intelligence, humans didn't have weapons that could even reach orbit effectively. He gave a short laugh, assuming it was a bluff. But deep inside Earth's command centers, no one was bluffing. A calm voice echoed in one of the control rooms. All stations ready. Targets confirmed. Awaiting authorization. The Global Council leader took a deep breath and spoke just one word. Authorize. High above, in the cold emptiness of space, the first human defense systems came to life. Satellites transformed, opening hidden compartments and extending weapon arrays. The moon's dark side began to shimmer with light as giant cannons aligned. On the Imperial flagship, alarms began to sound. Energy readings from Earth were climbing faster than expected. The Admiral leaned forward, his confident smile fading. "What are they doing?" he demanded. No one answered. From orbit, he could see the blue planet glowing with light at hundreds of points. For the first time, the fleet's scanners struggled to keep up. The human network was vast, synchronized, and intelligent. The Admiral stood silent. He realized the humans were not as primitive as he believed. Something deep in his mind whispered that he had made a mistake, but it was too late. The human systems had locked on. From the surface, people looked up at the night sky. They couldn't see the hidden defenses or the alien ships clearly, but they felt the tension in the air. Every nation had gone quiet. Every leader waited. Every heart pounded with fear and hope. And then, without warning, the sky flickered. Thousands of streaks of light shot upward, disappearing into the heavens. Some thought they were shooting stars. Others knew better. It was the beginning of Earth's answer. As the missiles and energy beams left the atmosphere, the people of Earth finally understood one truth. They were no longer divided by borders or beliefs. For the first time in history, they were united, not as separate nations, but as one species defending its home. The Imperial Admiral watched the readings spike. Thousands of projectiles were inbound. He ordered his ships to raise shields and fire countermeasures. But something about those human weapons was strange. They moved too fast, changed direction mid-flight, and reacted like they could think. His officers shouted warnings. His screens filled with red alerts. The Admiral stood silent, realizing that this battle might not go as easily as planned. Back on Earth, the Global Defense Command watched the data feed. Each trajectory was perfect, each strike planned to the smallest detail. Human engineers and AIs worked side by side to make sure nothing missed. The countdown echoed through every station. 10, 9, 8. The entire planet seemed to hold its breath. Far above, the Imperial fleet prepared for what they thought would be a brief exchange of fire. They had no idea that within minutes, everything they believed about humanity would change forever. And as the final second passed, the first human weapon reached its target. The night sky lit up brighter than day. The first blast shook the sky. From the surface, people saw flashes so bright they turned night into day. The horizon glowed with streaks of light that moved faster than sound, and thunder rolled across the continent seconds later. In space, the Imperial fleet was hit before they could react. Human missiles weren't like anything the aliens had seen before. They didn't follow straight paths. They danced, split apart, changed course, and hunted their targets. Each one carried a brain of its own, a silent thinking machine that adapted every millisecond. The alien shields designed to block predictable attacks couldn't keep up. One by one, the massive ships lit up in explosions. Their armor melted under the pressure of human plasma beams and quantum railfire. The fleet's formation broke apart as chaos spread. The Admiral shouted orders, trying to reorganize his forces, but the human counterattack was too fast. From Earth, observers watched in disbelief. Live feeds from orbital satellites showed flashes of destruction across the black sky. The invincible fleet that had threatened to conquer humanity was burning. It didn't seem real. People on the ground cheered, cried, hugged each other. They didn't fully understand what kind of weapons were being used. They only knew their world was fighting back and winning. In hidden command centers, human officers watched the battle unfold. The defense AI coordinated everything, linking ships, satellites, and ground weapons together as one living network. Every move of the enemy fleet was tracked, every weakness calculated in real time. The alien admiral tried to regroup. He ordered half his fleet to fire down on the planet, hoping to destroy the defense sources. But before they could target anything, a new wave of human firepower erupted from the moon. The dark side of Earth's closest neighbor came alive with light as long-range cannons unleashed beams that crossed space in seconds. Those beams weren't loud. They were silent, clean, and final. Each one tore through multiple alien ships, cutting them apart with precision. The Admiral's own command ship shook violently as debris slammed against its hull. The lights flickered. His crew screamed as systems failed. He didn't understand. How could a planet so young, so primitive, create weapons that rivaled empires built over thousands of years? He thought it must be stolen technology, something they couldn't truly control. He ordered his remaining ships to fall back, to retreat behind the moon and regroup. But humanity was already waiting there. From behind the moon emerged a formation of human-built ships, sleek, black, and silent. They didn't look like traditional warships. They had smooth surfaces and no visible weapons. But when they fired, the stars themselves seemed to blink. Their weapons weren't based on gunpowder or plasma. They were based on focused energy fields that tore matter apart on contact. The alien fleet tried to fight back, but their systems began failing. Their communication channels filled with static. Their targeting sensors jammed. Human hackers had infiltrated their network the moment the battle began, spreading confusion across the entire fleet. The Admiral realized too late that this wasn't just brute force. It was strategy, precision, and planning that only a united planet could achieve. The humans weren't fighting with desperation. They were fighting with purpose. Down on Earth, every command center was silent except for the calm voices of operators calling out results. Every explosion in orbit meant fewer enemies threatening their home. Yet even as victory began to look certain, no one celebrated too early. Everyone knew that one mistake could cost millions of lives. The alien fleet continued to lose ships at an alarming rate. Massive explosions painted the darkness with orange and blue light. A few ships tried to flee toward Mars orbit, but human defense drones intercepted them long before they could escape. For the people on Earth, it was an emotional storm. They watched the skies, some praying, some whispering to loved ones, others just standing frozen with awe. For generations, humanity had looked up at the stars and wondered if they were alone. Now they had their answer, and they were proving that they were far from helpless. In one control bunker deep underground, a human commander looked at the data streams with disbelief. The battle was only minutes old, yet almost half the enemy fleet was destroyed. The human losses were minimal, only a few orbital drones damaged. It didn't seem possible, but the numbers didn't lie. Humanity's defense network had worked exactly as it was meant to. The Admiral aboard the alien flagship felt rage building inside him. His empire had ruled countless worlds. They had crushed civilizations far older and more advanced than Earth. Yet here, against a single planet, his proud armada was being reduced to glowing wreckage. He ordered all remaining ships to focus their main cannons on Earth. If they couldn't conquer it, they would destroy it. Massive energy readings filled the screens as the alien ships began charging their weapons. Human scanners picked it up immediately. Alarms rang across every defense center. The next few seconds would decide everything. If those beams fired, entire cities could be wiped out. But humanity was ready. From the hidden defense satellites came an answer. Shields made of compressed energy fields expanded around the planet like a shimmering bubble. The alien beams fired, bright lines crossing space, striking Earth's upper atmosphere. But instead of burning through, they hit the shield and broke apart, scattering harmlessly. The alien fleet was stunned. Their ultimate weapons had failed. Before they could fire again, humanity struck back with full force. From every satellite, every ship, every base on the moon, thousands of energy bursts fired in perfect synchronization. They moved faster than light could travel through air. Within seconds, the alien fleet vanished in a wave of blinding light. In orbit, silence returned. The debris of alien warships floated quietly, glowing from heat and energy residue. The stars reappeared one by one, calm and distant as if the battle had never happened. On Earth, people stared at the sky. Some thought they were dreaming. Others dropped to their knees, crying or laughing without control. It was over faster than anyone expected. The invaders that had promised to enslave the planet were gone, destroyed in minutes. Inside the global command center, the room was silent. The operators stared at their screens, trying to process what they were seeing. Then one voice finally broke the silence. Enemy fleet neutralized. There was a pause, then a wave of applause, cheers, and tears. People hugged, shouted, and clapped each other on the back. For the first time in centuries, the entire world felt the same emotion at the same time. Relief. The Admiral's ship was gone, reduced to fragments. No survivors were detected. For all their arrogance and power, the Imperial fleet had underestimated the one thing they couldn't measure: human determination. Around the planet, communication networks came back online. News channels showed live footage of the wreckage drifting across space. Scientists confirmed that the battle had lasted less than 8 minutes. People called it a miracle. In homes, families held each other close. Children asked if the monsters were gone. Parents smiled through tears and said yes. Across continents, celebrations began. Not of victory in war, but survival. Humanity had faced extinction and stood tall. Still, in the quiet corners of the command centers, the leaders knew this was only the beginning. Somewhere out there, others would hear about what happened. The destruction of an Imperial fleet would not go unnoticed. Yet they also knew something had changed forever. Humanity had proved that it was not a weak or divided species. It had proved that when the moment came, the people of Earth could stand together as one. As the wreckage of the alien fleet drifted away, the world looked up at the stars with new eyes. They were no longer symbols of mystery or fear, they were the next frontier. The question now wasn't whether humans could survive the galaxy. The question was how far they could go. Far above, in the emptiness of space, a single piece of alien metal floated, glowing faintly. Carved into it were strange symbols, the last remains of an empire that had believed itself unstoppable. But somewhere in the control archives of Earth, humans had already recorded a new message, a reminder of this day. It said simply, "When the universe came for Earth," Earth answered. The world slept that night under a calm sky. The stars shone brighter than ever, as if the universe itself was watching. Humanity had stepped into a new chapter, and for the first time, every person on the planet knew it. They had defended their home. They had protected their future. And though no one could predict what would come next, one thing was certain: the galaxy would never again look at Earth the same way. The night after the battle was quiet. Cities that had once been filled with fear were now filled with lights. People gathered on rooftops and fields, pointing at the sky where tiny glowing pieces of debris still drifted. They knew those weren't stars. They were the remains of something that had come to destroy them, and failed. Everywhere on Earth, news channels replayed the same images again and again. The giant ships that once looked unstoppable had turned into fragments scattered across orbit. Scientists explained the event with measured voices, while reporters spoke in disbelief. The entire human race was living in a moment that would be remembered for all of time. But deep underground, inside hidden command bunkers and sealed bases, the atmosphere was different. The leaders of the United Earth Defense Network didn't celebrate. They watched screens filled with data and energy readings. The battle was over, but questions were already rising. How did the aliens find Earth? Were they acting alone? Or was there an even bigger force behind them? For the scientists monitoring deep space signals, one thing was clear: the galaxy now knew Earth existed. Their victory had not gone unnoticed. Across the stars, someone, somewhere, had seen the light of the battle. In one control room, a quiet discussion began among the top engineers and military minds. They talked about the hidden technology that had saved the planet. Much of it had never been shown to the public. The defense network used technology far beyond what most humans even knew existed: quantum systems, energy shields, and ship AI that could think and react faster than any human mind. It was technology built not just from human effort, but from something else. Years ago, small fragments from a crashed object had been found in the desert. Long before the invasion, that discovery had changed everything. Nations had secretly united to study it, leading to the creation of the defense network. And now, that secret cooperation had saved humanity. As the dust of war settled, the people of Earth began to rebuild their confidence. Fear slowly turned into pride. The world had seen destruction before, wars, disasters, and division, but this time was different. This time, everyone had stood together. In every home, families sat together sharing stories of how they felt when they saw the ships in the sky. People described the silence, the fear, and then the sudden roar of hope when Earth fought back. Children asked questions about the future. Teachers told them that this day would be remembered as the moment when humanity found its strength. Yet even as celebrations continued, strange things were happening above the planet. Satellites detected unusual energy patterns near the remains of the destroyed ships. Something was moving among the debris. At first, it looked like just drifting metal, but the patterns were too controlled, too precise. In one of the monitoring stations, technicians stared at the screen as the readings changed. A faint signal was coming from the remains of the alien flagship. It wasn't strong enough for communication, but it was repeating the same pulse again and again. It looked like a distress call. The defense leaders immediately sent out human drones to investigate. Small, silent crafts approached the wreckage, their cameras recording everything. What they found made everyone go silent. Among the shattered metal, deep inside what was left of the alien command ship, something was still alive. A weak energy field pulsed from a sealed capsule. The drone scanned it, but the readings were confusing. It wasn't a weapon. It looked more like a storage device or a message carrier. The Human Council made a quick decision to bring it back to Earth for study. Carefully, the capsule was transported to a secure research facility hidden in a mountain. Scientists worked day and night, trying to understand it. After several days, they managed to open the capsule safely. Inside was a small glowing core, constantly shifting colors. When connected to a translator system, it started projecting data, symbols, star maps, and what looked like coordinates. But one message appeared clearly, translated into human language by the system. It said, "This is not the full fleet." The words sent chills through everyone in the room. It meant that the invasion force destroyed in orbit was only part of something larger. There could be more fleets, maybe entire empires watching and waiting. The council gathered again. Some argued that humanity should prepare for another attack immediately. Others believed the message might not be a threat. It could be a warning from within the empire itself. Maybe not all of them agreed with the war. Meanwhile, across the planet, ordinary people began looking at the stars differently. They didn't see them as peaceful points of light anymore. They saw them as places where danger could come from. Still, there was also a strange sense of curiosity. If Earth could defend itself this well, maybe humanity could finally explore beyond its home and see what was out there. Global industries that once focused on Earth's economy began turning toward space development. Spaceports became busier. Scientists who had worked in secret for decades now shared their discoveries with the world. People who had never cared about space before started volunteering for research programs. Humanity was changing fast. The invasion had united them in fear, but now it united them in purpose. They wanted to be ready, not just to defend themselves, but to learn, to explore, to grow stronger together. At the same time, small pieces of alien technology were being collected from the debris field. Engineers studied them carefully. The materials were unlike anything found on Earth, light, strong, and filled with unknown energy sources. These discoveries opened new doors for science. Energy that could once only power cities might soon power entire continents. But the leaders remained cautious. Every piece of alien technology was treated carefully, studied under strict conditions. They didn't want to repeat the mistakes of the empire they had just defeated. Days turned into weeks. The wreckage in orbit slowly drifted away, pulled by gravity or burned up in the atmosphere. Still, the feeling that something bigger was coming never left. The message from the alien capsule kept echoing in the minds of the council members. This is not the full fleet. Late one night, in one of the deep space listening posts, a young technician picked up a faint signal again. It was not from the wreckage this time, it came from far beyond the solar system. The pattern was strange, rhythmic, almost like a heartbeat. He recorded it and sent it to the main command for analysis. When the results came back, the message was short but clear. The coordinates pointed to a distant region of space, and the signal contained the same signature as the Imperial fleet. Someone, or something, was responding. The message had only one line: "Report your status. Reinforcements en route." The technicians froze. The line was repeated 3 times and then went silent. It meant another fleet was already on its way. possibly larger than the first. The next morning, the world leaders were informed. Fear returned, but this time it was mixed with determination. Humanity had survived once, they could do it again. Plans for defense upgrades began immediately. The old secret bases expanded. More ships were built. Every scientist, every engineer, every pilot worked without rest. And through all of it, one feeling spread across the world: a sense of unity. Borders didn't matter anymore. Languages didn't matter. What mattered was that humanity had to stand together, because out there something powerful was watching. People looked at the sky at night, wondering when the next wave would come. But instead of fear, they felt ready. They knew what they had done before. They knew what they could do again. And somewhere in the deep silence of space, far beyond the edge of the solar system, massive shadows began to move. Another fleet was forming, larger than the first, faster and angrier. But this time, Earth wasn't the same weak planet they had expected. It was awake. It was prepared. The stars shone cold and bright over the planet that had defied an empire. Humanity's story had just begun, and the universe was about to learn what it truly meant when Earth decided to fight back. The days after the first battle were tense. On Earth, people were no longer afraid of what had happened. They were afraid of what might come next. The message from the alien capsule was clear, and no one knew when the next wave of attacks would arrive. Yet humanity did not waste time. Every moment was used to prepare. In secret bases around the world, engineers and scientists worked tirelessly. Machines hummed, lights blinked, and computer screens filled with lines of code. Some of the technology was old, but most of it was new, built in response to the first attack. New ships, faster and stronger, were designed in record time. Defense shields that had protected Earth once were upgraded to last even longer. Every satellite, every orbital station, every missile system was tested again and again. Above all, humans focused on coordination. The first invasion had revealed one thing: no nation could fight alone. Only by working together could Earth survive. Military leaders, scientists, and engineers held constant meetings. Maps of the solar system were displayed on screens, showing Earth at the center of a vast network of defenses. Every possible angle of attack was considered, every weakness strengthened. Despite the urgency, ordinary life continued. People went to work, to school, and to shops, but the presence of the unknown fleet in deep space weighed heavily on their minds. When the night sky was clear, many would stop and look up, imagining what might be out there waiting. Children asked their parents if the ships would return. Adults often had no answer, only a firm hand on a shoulder and a whisper of hope. We will be ready. Meanwhile, deep in orbit, human ships tested new maneuvers. The first battle had shown that speed and coordination were the keys to survival. Pilots trained day and night, flying in formations that mimicked birds in the sky. Ships practiced dodging, weaving, and striking with precision. Every simulation was made to feel real, so that when the real battle came, no human would hesitate. In one orbital station, a commander watched the planet below. The cities glimmered like jewels against the dark surface, and in that moment, he realized what they were truly defending. It wasn't just territory, it wasn't just resources, it was life. The people of Earth, with all their flaws, hopes, and dreams, depended on those shields and weapons, and the responsibility weighed heavily. Then, the first warning arrived. Sensors detected a faint movement far beyond Mars. At first, it was almost invisible, a small cluster of objects traveling faster than anything humanity had seen. As the technicians tracked them, the cluster grew larger. Within hours, the readings confirmed what they had feared. It was another fleet approaching from deep space, much larger than the first. The news spread quickly, but panic did not. Humanity had survived once. Now they had a chance to be even stronger. The council held an emergency meeting, connecting leaders from every nation through secure lines. Every decision was made with precision. Every action planned, tested, and coordinated. For the first time, humanity faced a threat of true scale. And yet there was no fear in the room, only determination. As the fleet approached, Earth's defenses prepared for the inevitable. Orbital satellites aligned into defensive grids. Missile silos extended from hidden mountains, and the moon-based stations opened new arrays of cannons. Pilots scrambled, ships lifted from hidden hangars, and every human trained for this moment. From the surface, people could see it first as a bright glow on the horizon, growing slowly but steadily. By the time the fleet entered the inner solar system, it was a terrifying sight. Thousands of massive ships stretching across the sky, larger than cities, glowing with alien energy. Humanity's sensors registered the immense size of the fleet, but the humans who had survived the first attack were ready. The admiral leading the alien fleet believed they would succeed easily this time. They had learned nothing from the first encounter. They assumed Earth was weak, divided, and unprepared. But this was no longer the case. Earth had changed. Humanity had grown stronger, smarter, faster, and more united than ever before. As the alien ships moved into formation, humans waited for the right moment. The strategy was not to attack immediately, but to use intelligence, coordination, and surprise to gain the advantage. The first wave of human drones moved quietly, hidden among the debris of the first fleet, mapping the enemy's positions and analyzing weaknesses. Then, the attack began. Unlike the first battle, this was not a simple exchange of fire. Humans used tactics that combined precision, speed, and adaptability. Drones moved ahead of the main fleet, confusing the aliens. Missiles split in midair, striking multiple targets at once. Energy beams struck with surgical accuracy, disabling engines and shields without destroying the ships entirely. The goal was clear: disrupt, confuse, and overwhelm. The alien fleet responded with massive energy bursts, trying to destroy the human positions, but Earth's defenses had evolved. Shields absorbed hits that would have been catastrophic in the first battle. Satellites launched countermeasures, jamming communications and scrambling targeting systems. The humans were not only defending, they were controlling the battlefield. On the ground, people could see flashes of light in the sky, brighter and faster than any natural phenomenon. Some thought it was lightning. Some thought it was a meteor shower. Only the trained observers knew it was war happening above them, a war that could decide the fate of their world. Inside the human command centers, tension was high. Every operator was focused, every hand steady. The stakes were clear. This battle would decide if Earth survived or fell. Despite the stress, no one panicked. Years of preparation, simulations, and cooperation had led to this moment. Humanity's strength was not just in its weapons, but in its unity. The alien admiral grew frustrated. His fleet, larger than before, was being torn apart piece by piece. Their attacks were met with precise counterattacks that seemed to anticipate every move. Sensors failed, engines exploded, and formations broke apart. Ships that had once seemed invincible now drifted silently, burning in orbit. Humans continued their advance, striking in waves. They targeted the enemy's weak points, disabled weapons, and blocked reinforcements. Every action was calculated, every strike purposeful. Within minutes, the battle turned completely in Earth's favor. From the moon, human stations fired beams that cut through the fleet's defenses like knives. The alien ships tried to flee, but human scouts anticipated every move. It was no longer just defense. It was a carefully planned counterattack. For the people on Earth, the sky became a canvas of lights and explosions. Even those far from the coasts and cities could see flashes reflecting off clouds. Some watched in awe, some prayed silently, and some simply held hands with loved ones, understanding that their survival depended on the courage and skill of the humans above. In orbit, the alien fleet was collapsing. The admiral, realizing the scale of his mistake, tried to retreat. But human ships blocked every route. Drones swarmed around the enemy ships, disabling their engines and leaving them drifting helplessly. Each explosion was precise, controlled, and devastating. The battle lasted far longer than the first one, but the result was the same. The Imperial fleet, proud and confident, was being destroyed in record time. The humans fought not with fear, but with purpose, intelligence, and unity. When the last ship fell, silence returned to the solar system. The stars above seemed unchanged, but the light reflecting from the debris told a story of victory. Earth had survived again, stronger than ever. On the surface, celebrations began, but the command centers remained vigilant. Humanity knew that this was not the end. Somewhere, more enemies might be waiting. But for the first time, humans did not feel powerless. They had learned that preparation, unity, and courage could overcome even the greatest threat. The people of Earth looked up at the sky that night and felt pride, not fear. They had defended their home once more, and the lessons of the battle would guide them into the future. The planet had changed, and so had its people. They were no longer just survivors. They were defenders, prepared for anything the universe might throw at them next. And far away, in the darkness beyond the solar system, the next observers of this victory began to take note. Earth was no longer a quiet, weak world. It was awake, alert, and ready. The days after the second battle were tense, but Earth had learned to breathe again. Cities slowly returned to life. People began to go back to work, and children played in the streets without fear. Yet no one forgot the sky that had burned with light, the ships that had fallen in silence, and the knowledge that something larger was still out there, watching. Scientists and engineers worked tirelessly in hidden bases and orbital stations. The human fleet had survived, but they knew it was only the beginning. Every destroyed alien ship was studied, every piece of debris cataloged, and every weapon analyzed. Humanity had learned something important. Knowledge was as much a weapon as any missile or cannon. The alien fleet that had attacked was gone, but the message from the capsule haunted the minds of the leaders. This is not the full fleet. It meant somewhere out there, beyond the solar system, forces greater than anything they had ever seen were preparing. Earth's victory had sent a signal across the galaxy, a signal that this world was not weak, not defenseless. Military leaders called emergency meetings in every major command center. Plans were drawn, redrawn, and tested against simulations of countless possibilities. Pilots trained longer, engineers built faster, and scientists pushed boundaries no one had dared to explore before. Earth had become a planet ready for war, but more importantly, a planet ready for survival. Despite the tension, life continued on the surface. Streets were filled with people celebrating survival. Children ran through parks laughing as though nothing had changed, while adults shared stories of the battles above. Families told tales of the glowing streaks in the sky, of lights brighter than the sun, and of moments when it seemed all hope was lost, only to be found again. Still, the human fleet above Earth remained vigilant. Ships patrolled the solar system, scanning for any sign of incoming threats. Satellites in orbit formed layers of defense ready to detect the slightest anomaly. Hidden stations on the Moon, Mars, and even the asteroid belt were manned by humans trained for the unexpected. For the first time in history, the planet had eyes and weapons in every corner of space. Weeks passed. The alien forces that had attacked seemed quiet, but humans did not relax. Every signal, every unusual pattern, every pulse of energy from deep space was monitored with extreme attention. Analysts studied them day and night, searching for patterns, for warnings, for anything that could indicate an incoming fleet. Then, one morning, the first true sign came. Far beyond Pluto, sensors picked up a massive cluster of ships moving at an impossible speed. They were larger than anything humans had seen before. The reading suggested not just a fleet, but an armada, thousands of ships moving in perfect formation. The message reached the command centers immediately. Alarms rang, lights blinked, and every operator rushed to their station. The fleet was moving toward Earth, and it was coming fast. This time humans were ready. Unlike the previous attacks, they did not scramble in fear. They had learned from their victories and their mistakes. The defense network activated in full. Ships launched from hidden hangars. Drones spread out across the solar system, and orbital cannons powered up. Earth itself seemed to awaken. Every city, every base, every station connected in a single heartbeat of preparation. On the surface, people could see the faint glow of the fleet approaching, stretching across the night sky like a dark cloud. Unlike before, there was no panic. Citizens gathered in open spaces to watch, holding hands with friends and family. There was fear, yes, but it was tempered with pride. Humanity had faced impossible odds before and survived. They had hope. The alien armada entered the inner solar system. Its size was breathtaking. Thousands of ships, some larger than continents, moved in perfect formation. Their energy fields glowed with colors unfamiliar to human eyes. The fleet's commander believed that Earth would be easy prey. He assumed the humans would panic, scatter, and fall apart, just as they thought during the first invasion. But he underestimated one thing: human unity. From Earth's orbital network, the fleet was immediately tracked and analyzed. Patterns in their movement were identified. Weak points were calculated. Every human ship, every satellite, and every missile was positioned with precision, ready to react instantly. The humans did not panic, they adapted. The first contact came quietly. Human drones moved ahead of the fleet, invisible against the backdrop of space. They intercepted communications between the alien ships, jamming signals, feeding false data, and sowing confusion. The alien commander struggled to maintain order as ships began firing on imagined targets, colliding in their own formations. Then the human attack began. Unlike previous battles, this was not a simple defense. It was an orchestration of strategy and precision. Missiles moved in calculated patterns. Energy beams, disabled engines, and automated systems struck at weak points. The alien armada tried to respond, but every attack was countered, every move anticipated. From the moon, orbital cannons fired with surgical accuracy. They struck ships in formation, breaking clusters apart without allowing debris to threaten other vessels. Pilots in Earth's fleet swooped in, striking rapidly and retreating before the enemy could fire back. Every move was designed to minimize human risk while maximizing damage to the fleet. On Earth, people watched as streaks of light moved across the sky, brighter and faster than anything they had seen before. Explosions occurred silently above, far from the surface, and yet their impact was visible across continents. For the first time, the world understood the power of precision, coordination, and courage. The alien commander realized his mistake. The humans were not fighting blindly. They were fighting as one. Every ship, every station, every defense system was connected in real time. Humans had transformed the solar system into a single organism, and they were the brain controlling it. Ships that once seemed invincible were being destroyed or disabled in minutes. Engines failed, weapons overloaded, and formations collapsed. The alien fleet, massive as it was, could not withstand the combined force of a planet united. In one command center, a scientist watched the simulation screens and whispered, "They've learned too fast. They've adapted." The reality was the same. The aliens were witnessing something they had never expected. Humanity was no longer weak, no longer divided, no longer easy to conquer. The battle continued for hours, each second a display of skill, courage, and intelligence. Human ships moved with fluid precision, covering each other, striking in waves and retreating before the enemy could react. The aliens were powerful, yes, but their strength was rigid, predictable, and ultimately no match for human adaptability. On the surface, people began to understand what was happening. Social media feeds were filled with live images from orbital cameras. Children watched in awe. Adults stared in disbelief, and teachers told stories of courage, determination, and unity. The message was clear. This was humanity defending itself, not as individuals, not as nations, but as one species. As the alien fleet began to falter, human forces pressed the attack. They did not destroy everything recklessly. They focused on strategic targets, disabling ships and forcing retreats without unnecessary loss of life. The humans understood the value of balance. Victory was not just about power, but about control. By the end of the day, the alien armada was shattered. The remaining ships attempted to flee, but drones and long-range energy weapons intercepted them. The solar system, once a quiet region of space, had become a battlefield and a proving ground for the humans who had survived against all odds. Silence fell again as the last enemy ship was destroyed. Debris floated in orbit, reflecting sunlight, marking the remnants of the fleet that had dared to threaten Earth. On the planet below, people cheered, cried, and hugged each other. The feeling was not just relief, it was pride. Humanity had faced the impossible and emerged victorious. Leaders and scientists met once more to assess the results. The message was clear. Humanity was no longer a weak planet. They had proven that preparation, unity, and courage could overcome even the most powerful enemies. The solar system was defended, but the galaxy was watching. Somewhere other fleets were taking note. In the quiet moments after the battle, people looked up at the stars and felt something new. Hope, strength, determination. The battles had tested them, but they had survived and they had grown stronger. And somewhere far beyond the solar system, distant observers began to take note. Earth had awakened, and the galaxy would never see it the same way again. The calm after the last battle did not last long. Humanity had survived twice now, but everyone knew that the universe was not finished testing them. Reports from deep space sensors confirmed something unsettling. Signals, movement, and strange energy pulses far beyond Pluto. Something large, something organized, was coming. This time humans did not wait. From the moment the readings appeared, preparations began instantly. The entire planet was mobilized not in panic but in unity. Factories worked day and night producing ships, weapons, and supplies. Orbital stations hummed with activity as engineers adjusted every system. Pilots trained non-stop, simulating countless attack strategies. This was the moment humanity had been preparing for since the first glimpse of the Imperial fleet. Governments no longer held secret meetings. They coordinated openly. For the first time, humanity acted as one species. Communication networks linked every military base, every satellite, every space station, forming a single global defense network. Earth had become a living system of vigilance and power, ready for the largest threat it had ever faced. In orbit, human ships lined up, thousands of them, forming defensive grids around the planet. Drones patrolled the solar system, scanning every angle. Hidden cannons on the Moon, Mars, and even asteroid bases were loaded and primed. Every weapon, every defense mechanism, every human-trained eye was focused on the same goal: survival. Far beyond the solar system, the incoming fleet approached. It was massive, larger than anything humans had seen. Thousands of ships stretched across space like a dark cloud, moving with perfect coordination. Energy readings from the fleet were unlike anything previously encountered. Powerful, precise, and deadly. They were the remnants of the Imperial fleet, reinforced and stronger, sent as a final, decisive strike to conquer Earth once and for all. The fleet commander believed that Earth would fall easily. They had destroyed worlds before, crushing civilizations that had far more technology than humans. To them, this planet was just another target, a test of superiority. But they had forgotten one key factor. Humans do not surrender easily, and humans do not fight alone. The first contact occurred at the edge of the solar system. Humans detected small ships scouting ahead, probing defenses. Drones intercepted them immediately, jamming signals and scrambling sensors. Then larger ships appeared, moving toward the inner planets. Humanity watched closely, calculating, waiting for the perfect moment. Unlike previous battles, this confrontation was not just about weapons, it was about strategy. Human commanders knew that brute force alone would not win this time. They had learned, adapted, and evolved. Every attack would be countered, every move predicted, and every weak point exploited. The humans were ready to fight smarter, faster, and together. From Earth, people looked up at the sky. Some saw strange flashes of light as drones moved ahead of the fleet. Others noticed distant streaks of energy crossing the heavens. For the first time, ordinary citizens began to understand the scale of what humanity faced. It was terrifying, but it was also awe-inspiring. Humanity was fighting not just for survival, but for its place in the galaxy. The first wave of attacks from the alien fleet arrived. Massive energy beams fired toward Earth, intended to destroy cities and military bases. But the planet's defenses were ready. Shields formed over the major continents, absorbing the blasts. Orbital lasers struck the enemy ships mid-flight, disabling engines and splitting formations. This time, humans were not only defending, they were controlling the battle. Every strike was precise. Missiles and energy beams worked in perfect coordination, overwhelming the fleet's shields and causing confusion among their ranks. Drones swarmed around larger ships, disabling weapons and forcing retreats. The humans had turned the battlefield into a deadly chess game, each move calculated, each attack purposeful. In the command centers, tension was high. Every operator knew the stakes. If even one part of the defense failed, billions of lives could be lost. Yet even in the tension there was calm. Humans had learned from their victories. They had faced the impossible before and survived. Every hand on a console, every eye on a screen, every voice calling orders worked in harmony. Above, the alien fleet began to falter. Ships collided in confusion, weapons overloaded, and formations broke apart. The commander, realizing that the humans were far stronger and smarter than anticipated, attempted to retreat. But it was too late. Human ships blocked every escape route, and long-range weapons disabled engines with surgical precision. The invaders had underestimated one truth. Earth was no longer a weak, divided planet. As the battle continued, human forces pressed the attack. They did not destroy indiscriminately. They targeted strategic points, focusing on engines, communication hubs, and power cores. Each strike was calculated to maximize impact while minimizing risk to civilians. The humans fought with intelligence, unity, and a deep understanding of their world. From the Moon, Massive cannons fired in perfect synchrony, striking entire clusters of enemy ships. From orbital stations, beams of energy tore through formations with surgical accuracy. Pilots in spacecrafts weaved between explosions, striking and retreating faster than the enemy could track. The alien fleet, massive and powerful, was being destroyed in minutes. On Earth, people watched the sky light up with colors they had never seen before. Explosions reflected on clouds. Streaks of energy moved faster than the eye could follow, and silent bursts in orbit reshaped the heavens. Families held each other close. Children stared in awe, and teachers whispered stories of courage, determination, and unity. The planet itself seemed alive, defending every life on its surface. Hours passed. The alien fleet was shattered piece by piece. Some ships attempted to flee, but human drones intercepted them before they could escape. Every maneuver, every movement of the humans was calculated, precise, and effective. It was a perfect demonstration of intelligence, adaptability, and unity. Finally, the last alien ship was destroyed. Silence returned to the solar system. Debris floated gently in orbit, marking the remains of a fleet that had once seemed unstoppable. On Earth, people cheered, cried, and hugged each other in relief. The planet had survived again, stronger and more united than ever before. In the command centers, the mood was solemn. Victory had been won, but humanity knew that the galaxy was vast and danger could return. The lessons of the battles were clear. Unity, preparation, and courage were humanity's greatest weapons. They had defended their home, but now they were also awake to the truth of the universe. The people of Earth looked up at the stars that night and felt a new emotion: pride. They had faced destruction and emerged victorious. They had proven that humans were not weak, not divided, and not helpless. Humanity had fought as one, defended its home, and sent a message to the universe: Earth would not be conquered easily. In the quiet corners of command centers, leaders and scientists recorded data from the battles. Every piece of information would be studied, every strategy remembered. Humans knew that the universe was full of dangers, but they also knew they were capable of surviving, adapting, and thriving. Far beyond the solar system, distant observers took note. Earth had awakened. It was no longer a quiet, insignificant planet. It was a force to be reckoned with, a species that could fight, survive, and unite against impossible odds. For the first time in history, humans understood their place in the galaxy. They were small, yes, but they were resilient. They were vulnerable, yes, but they were brave. And above all, they were united, ready to face whatever came next. The nights that followed were quiet. Stars shone bright above cities, oceans, and forests. People slept under calm skies, unaware of the distant eyes watching Earth. But the planet had changed. Humanity had changed. They were no longer just a species trying to survive. They were defenders, explorers, and warriors in a universe that had just learned not to underestimate them. And somewhere, far beyond the reach of human eyes, the remnants of the alien empire recorded the events. They understood one truth: Earth was alive, alert, and dangerous. The universe would never see it the same way again. For Earth, life returned to its natural rhythm, but every heart remembered the battles. Every mind remembered the unity, and every person understood a new reality. The galaxy was vast. Threats would come, but together humanity could face anything. The planet had survived. Humanity had survived. And from this moment on, the stars no longer seemed distant. They were a horizon waiting to be reached, a challenge waiting to be met, and a universe waiting to be explored. The story of Earth had just begun.